Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea show and in the afternoons on Open Mic, I take live questions, but sometimes we don't have enough time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in. I want to make sure you guys know that those questions will get answered, so I take all those questions and we address them here in companion videos. Now, we have a bunch of a backup on questions we need to get to, so I'm not going to get through all of them today, but we are going to get through a whole bunch. So let's get things started with the first question we're getting caught up on today from Kyle Brackman, who writes, do you think Thrawn is a better Star Wars villain than Darth Vader? You know, it's interesting that you asked that right now because the new novel just came out by Timothy Zahn, Thrawn Alliances, and it's about Grand Admiral Thrawn and Darth Vader and their partnership working together. Now, I am actually, probably when you're watching this, I'm probably on the road driving up to Carmel, California for a wedding, so Ann and I are going to be gone for the weekend, but I specifically downloaded the audiobook so we could listen to this book in the car. Now, I love Thrawn. Thrawn is a great villain, no doubt, but Darth Vader is simply the greatest villain of all time. Darth Vader is the greatest villain of all time. Now, again, that you may have a different opinion, and that's totally cool, but since you're asking me, I will tell you that I believe Darth Vader is the greatest villain of all time. And while Thrawn is wonderful and great, and I'm very much looking forward to this book, hearing about these two guys working together, while all that's true, I gotta go with Vader. All right, ZOMG Ruler writes, couldn't Universal do a Sony deal with Marvel? Now, I assume you're talking about the Hulk. So, as many of you guys will know, the reason Marvel can't make a standalone Hulk movie now is because Universal has the distribution rights. Marvel has the production rights. That means Marvel can make a Hulk movie if they want. It just means they can't be the distributor. They have to then partner with Universal to be the distributor of the film. Disney does not want to do that, and I understand. So they keep using Hulk in other people's movies, but they can't do a true standalone Hulk film because then they have to let Universal distribute, which they can do if they want. They just don't want to let anybody else distribute their films. So the question is, couldn't Universal do a Sony deal? What deal? It's simple. You can make the Hulk film, but you have to let us distribute. What other deal is there to be made? I mean, Marvel already gets to make it. There is no other deal to be made here. It's just whether or not, the only reason there's not a standalone Hulk film is because Disney refuses to work with Universal. That's it. Universal would have no say in the movie. Marvel can make any kind of Hulk movie they want. They just have to let another company, in this case Universal, do the distribution because they hold the distribution rights. They can make a movie anytime they want. So it's really all Disney. It's all Disney's fault. If Disney wants a Hulk movie, they can make one. They just have to suck it up and understand, okay, we can't distribute our own film. We have to let Universal distribute, and that's fine. We can partner with them and do that, but Disney refuses to do it. And if I'm Universal, there's no way I'm giving those rights back. There's no way. There's no reason for me to give them back. So I just don't see what deal there is to be made. Disney seems to want an all or nothing, and that's their right. And Universal's like, no, we have these rights, and we're not just going to give them up for nothing. So we'll have to just kind of see what they can work out. Scarcey RS writes, since Darth Bane is the only Old Republic canon character, do you think he will appear in the movie if they touch that time period? Love your content, John. Keep being you. Well, thanks a lot for that question. That's something that comes up a lot. Honestly, I don't know. Realistically, there is no need to do Bane because the vast majority of movie fans, including a lot of Star Wars fans, have no idea who Darth Bane is. No idea. Anybody who's just a fan of Star Wars from the movies, which is most people, they've never heard of Darth Bane. So does Star Wars, if they touch on the Old Republic period, do they need to use Bane? Nah. Actually, probably no. They don't need to. Nothing wrong with using him either. And there's some great mythology behind Bane, and there's some great stories behind Bane. But, I mean, realistically speaking, they just don't have to. Because the majority... But John, he was mentioned in Clone Wars once. That means he's canon. Well, he was mentioned, but that doesn't mean you have to use him. And the Old Republic period is a long period of time. You can tell a lot of stories in there. You don't have to use any particular characters. Would I like to see Bane? Yes, I would like it. But there's no impetus on Disney or Lucasfilm to use Bane because it's not like the majority of the fans are calling out for it. So if they want to use him, great. I hope they use him, but they don't necessarily need to. All right, Leader of Bats writes, what if the Spider-Man in the Venom movie is not the MCU Spider-Man? That's what Sony wants it PG-13. 2 universes could actually be kind of cool. Nope, they can't do that. A lot of people have asked for that. Under the terms of the agreement between Sony and Marvel, for Spider-Man to be in the MCU, Sony can't do a live-action Spider-Man of their own. They can't. That's the terms of the deal. Or else there's nothing stopping Sony from, yeah, you can have Tom Holland and Spider-Man in your MCU, and we're going to keep making our own Spider-Man movies too. In which case, the MCU would go, that's just going to confuse the audience. That's going to hurt us. No. So, according to the terms of the deal, Sony can't do a live-action Spider-Man. That's why you're getting an animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, but what they cannot do is do a live-action Spider-Man, whether he's called Peter Parker or Miles Morales or anybody else, Ben Reilly or anybody. You can't have a live-action Spider-Man while you have a live-action Spider-Man in the MCU. That's just the terms of their deal. So, yes, the notion of Sony will just use their own Spider-Man in a Venom movie, they can't do that. As of right now, they can't do that. But the deal between Sony and Marvel is technically over after Spider-Man Far From Home. Whether or not they re-up their deal or Sony takes Spider-Man back or whatever, we're going to have to wait and see. We're all hoping, of course, that they extend the deal because I think this has been good for Sony and it's been good for Marvel. So here's hoping they both figure that out and extend their deal. All right, Murray Reich writes, saw Christopher Robin Wednesday and I enjoyed it a lot. Some of the job marriage life was kind of boring, but Pooh and the gang were adorable, left with a smile. I feel the exact same way, Murray. See, my thoughts on Christopher Robin was that the first act was problematic. The first act of the movie is uneven, it has pacing issues, and it does not draw you in. Once you get into Act 2, and certainly by Act 3, but once you get into Act 2 and you start getting the, the Acrewood gang together and you start getting the Pooh characters in there more, then it becomes completely endearing and completely charming. And I think the reason some fans and some critics haven't liked the film is because I think that first act lost a bunch of people. And like the issues you yourself were pointing out about it too. It was a problematic first act, but once you get by that first act, it's so charming, and my wife just loved it, and Eeyore was her favorite, and yeah, I think it's a special little movie. Micah T writes, I didn't love how Tony used nanotech to patch up his stab wound. Would have been cooler if Thanos used his newly acquired time stone to heal it. Any thoughts? But why would Thanos heal it? Thanos wanted to kill Tony. That's why he stabbed him. No. Tony was somebody in Thanos' way. That's why Thanos killed him. It wouldn't have made any sense for Thanos to then heal him. Thanos wanted him dead. He wanted him dead. He could have incapacitated Tony if he wanted to, but he wanted to kill Tony. He wanted him dead. And he said, I respect you and all that kind of stuff, but you are an obstacle in my way. And so, vroom, big blade through the belly. So, that wouldn't have made, honestly, in my opinion, Micah, I don't think it would have made any sense. But I am with you that I didn't like the nanotech. Oh, because seriously, the Iron Man suit in the MCU has gotten to the point that it's just magic. It does everything. It can do anything. I rewatched the first Iron Man the other day. And it was so cool that while it was this fantastical thing, they tried so hard to make it seem plausible. We see Tony in his lab testing out the repulsor jets and lifter jets on his hands and testing out weapons, doing little, tightening this and that. And just, while it was absolutely fantastical, they at least tried to make it feel a little bit real. Of course it's not real, but they at least try to make it feel a little bit real. Today, and don't get me wrong, I love Iron Man in Avengers Infinity War, I do. But I will say, it is a little bit of a put-off that basically the suit's now just magic. It's just a magic suit that can do anything. It's like, wait a minute, where'd those 85 missiles come from? Oh, they were in his wrist, but they were 85 missiles like this long. How did that happen? Nanotechnology! How did you... So your suit is a full medic suit, like a full fatal stab wound. It just fixes you like that. Why aren't you sharing that technology with the world? Nanotechnology. Like, it seems like a little bit of a cop-out. And it just feels a little cheap. But overall, I mean, still, I love Iron Man and he's great in the movies and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do wish they would at least try to pretend like the Iron Man suit is a product of an engineering genius, but in our world. And it just, again, they just do too many things with it. It just makes it seem like it's magic. Anyway, that's just me. Gabe Schembarger writes, do you think Michael J. Fox could have won an Oscar? No. I've always, don't get me, I love Michael J. Fox, good Canadian kid, by the way, all that kind of stuff. Was he the type of actor who was really charming and you just loved watching him on screen? Yes. Was he the type of actor who had that depth of thespian, I should say, kind of prowess that he could have legitimately at some point been an Oscar contender? I don't think so. I don't. And that's not me knocking him at all. I love Michael J. Fox. Everybody loves Michael J. Fox. But was he ever, did I ever get the sense that he had the potential to be an Oscar winner? Honestly, probably no. Murray Reich writes, is it worth seeing The Meg? Because I do have A-list. Well, look, seriously, The Meg, overall, I don't recommend The Meg. But it has a lot of redeeming qualities. Like, I was very, very close to recommending it or not recommending it. There's stuff that's quite bad in it, but there's stuff that's quite good. Like I've mentioned this before, everything with the shark and everything in the water, they shoot with great tension, some great scares. It's thrilling, it's exciting. It's just everything that involves the characters in the movie and everything out of the water is just badly performed, badly written, not good at all, to be honest with you. Enough so that I lean towards not recommending. But if you're saying, hey, is it worth seeing? Hey, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that it is definitely worth seeing for. Certainly if you have it, if you're going to go see it through A-list. Absolutely. And yeah, I'd say give it a shot. Why not? Nothing to lose. Connor B. writes, for Fox, I should say, picking Kinberg to direct X-Men Dark Phoenix baffles me. Oh, me too. I mean, look, I'm all for people getting involved in directing. I just think that it's been proven many times that the best way is to give a director a smaller film to cut their teeth on and to show what they can do. And to figure out their own mistakes, to figure out their weaknesses so they can learn and grow and then do something bigger. I have never understood the idea of giving Simon Kinberg as his first film to direct a major tentpole film like X-Men Dark Phoenix. That has made no sense to me. Now, I do get it a little bit because Fox has worked with Simon Kinberg exhaustively as a writer and as a producer. You can certainly make the argument that Simon Kinberg knows the X-Men universe, but that doesn't mean he knows how to direct. And now look, maybe X-Men Dark Phoenix will come out and it'll be a triumph. And Simon Kinberg will get nominated for Best Director and all that kind of stuff. That could happen. I still think, though, that the wiser course of action, if you really want Simon Kinberg to direct an X-Men film, give him one of your mid-budget films. Give him like a $40 million film to direct first. Let him cut his teeth. Let him identify his weaknesses. Let him grow as a director. And if he does and shows promise, then give him X-Men Dark Phoenix. I like Simon Kinberg very much. Very much. I just think they should have given it, like, look at Andy Serkis, right? They didn't just come out of the gate and give Andy Serkis a brand new X-Men movie or a brand new Avengers movie or something. No, Andy Serkis has directed a couple of smaller films first, shown that he's got a lot of potential as a director, and then they started giving him something bigger, like the Mowgli movie that has unfortunately been dumped on Netflix. But he cut his teeth first, and I think that's what they should have done with Simon Kinberg. But then again, look, I have all the respect in the world for Simon Kinberg. I think the dude's awesome. Let's see what happens. Caleb Bradford writes, a lot of people are saying that your guest for Star Wars Talk was going to be Nathan Hamill. Is that true? I'm not going to say anything. Not going to say. Julianne S. writes, just watched Sutter Island for the first time. Loved it. Scorsese tells the story from a crazy man perspective so well. Makes me excited for the Joker. Well, first of all, I agree. I think Shutter Island is an underrated film. I think it is an underrated and underappreciated film. I like that movie a lot, and I think a lot of people skipped on it because it looks a little wacky. And yes, it does look a little wacky, and yes, it is a little bit wacky. But believe me, it's a great movie. Check it out. However, don't get too excited about the Joker because of that, because don't forget, Martin Scorsese is not directing this. He's involved, he's a producer, but he is not directing this film. So just keep your expectations in check. Don't get all excited. Oh, the guy who directed this is making this. Well, yeah, but he's not directing this. Somebody else wrote the script. Somebody else is directing it. It's a good director. The script must be great because Joaquin Phoenix was excited to sign on for it. So it's got to be a good script. Just don't get tempted too much to connect the two that, oh, Martin Scorsese's directing this film. He's not. Praise Kiyogera, who writes, John, you're my all-time favorite film pundit since I was in 5th grade. Well, thanks so much, man. I've been watching you since I was a kid and hope to see you review one of my works if I ever become a director. Also, I've started a movie podcast as well. That's awesome that you started a movie podcast. It's a very important thing to me that more people get involved in podcasting, blogging, and YouTube channeling about movies. But John, isn't that competition for you? No, it's no competition. This is YouTube. YouTube has 500 million daily viewers. There's plenty of audience to go around for everybody. The more people who get involved in online film fandom and punditry, I think the better for everybody. And I think I mean, look, don't go into it with delusions of grandeur. You probably won't be able to make a living out of it, but do it because you love it. And I always try to encourage more people to make YouTube channels, to talk about their favorite things in movies, to do podcasts, to do blogging, whatever. And I'm really glad that you're doing that as well. And I hope more of you will consider doing that in the future. All right, we move on now. Sebastian says, I don't see you doing collaborations. Why? No reason for me to do collaborations, to be honest. I mean, look, there are a lot of people out there I'm a big fan of and I respect and I love. But the whole nature of my show is it's me and you. That's the nature of my show. I don't see the purpose of doing collaborations. Well, you can get new traffic. Well, I'm not really big into just doing things just to get new traffic. I've never been about that. Don't get me wrong, I always appreciate new traffic, but I never like kind of go out of my way to do things just for the sake of getting new traffic. And honestly, if I did collaboration stuff, not that I have any problem with collaboration stuff or that I don't think anybody else shouldn't do collaboration stuff, not at all. But that's not really the nature of or the DNA of my channel. So yeah, I don't get me wrong, I'm not completely opposed to any collaborations, but I certainly don't go out of my way to try to look for them because it's just not what I do here. But thanks for asking, man. I appreciate that. Crimson ID4 writes, Battle Angel Aleta or Mortal Engines? You know, somebody else asked me that question the other day. I got to say Battle Angel Aleta. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Peter Jackson and his team are doing with Mortal Engines. Absolutely. I think the trailers have looked good. I'm excited about it. But like a lot of people, I've been waiting for Battle Angel Aleta for like 10 years. James Cameron's been talking about doing this movie forever. Now, unfortunately, he's not directing it. He's got Robert Rodriguez directing it, who's kind of hit and miss and has been on kind of a bad streak lately. But just for the basis alone that I've been waiting for nearly 10 years for this movie, when both of them come out, the first one I'm going to see is Aleta Battle Angel, then I'll see Mortal Engines. Let's see. Leo Milmet writes, Mom and her boyfriend just got back to U.S. from Italy and then immediately went to Canada, and all I could think of was my boy Johnny C. Yep, you know what the funny thing is? I am Italian. My real name, for those of you who don't know, is Giovanni. Giovanni's my real first name. I have never been to Italy. My wife is not Italian at all, and she's been to Italy 3 times. I've never been to Italy. I got to get over there and visit Italy, and I never have. But that's a good trip, man. Italy, Canada, nice one. So thanks for mentioning that, Leo. I appreciate that. Justin T. writes, I just subscribed to Cinemia. Here's my concern. After I signed up, they asked for the last 4 digits of my social security number. WTF, I can't use the cardless feature. I'm not quite sure what that last line has to do with the previous one. First of all, whenever using social security numbers, that is just a good identification thing to do. There's a lot of financial stuff that you do that you have to include your social security number. It's really one of the only key ways that can identify you, know that it's you, and blah, 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 blah. That's why you got to be careful with it. So I don't it's not really unusual that they would do something like that. It's really not. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's totally safe. It's totally secure. Go for it. I don't know why you can't. Are you saying you can't use the cardless feature without giving them your SS number? If that's the case, just give them the SS. It is totally safe. It's totally secure. You're good. At least as far as I know. Jedi Bananas writes, long-time listener, first time asking a question. Well, thank you, Jedi Bananas. What are your thoughts on the Monster Squad? It's gained a following over the years, and it has an upcoming documentary. I've always liked the Monster Squad. Like, don't get me wrong. I have friends of mine, particularly a couple friends in Toronto who I'm thinking of, who just like adore Monster Squad. Just adore it. About once a year, like she has like a little viewing party at her house for people to come over and watch it. Like just flip out over it. I like Monster Squad. It's never been for me personally one of those movies that sits in that really cherished shelf, sits on that cherished movie shelf, like a Princess Bride or a Star Wars or something like. It's never been one of those to me. It's good and I like it, but you know, I don't watch it every year or anything like that. But like I said, I know a bunch of people who just love that thing. Rob Korzak writes, bought 100 shares of MoviePass for $5 because why not? You never know. Dude, I'm telling you what. I believe MoviePass right now is sitting at 3 cents. Let me just double check that. Helios and Matheson stock price, it's at 3 cents. Dude, I am tempted right now to buy. So right now your 100 shares are now worth $3 instead of $5. So you've already lost $2, Rob. I am tempted. I'm not going to lie. I'm tempted to buy like 10,000 shares. I'm tempted to, like, for $300, I am tempted to buy like 10,000 shares. Because let's say it just goes up to 6 cents again. Well, then I've just made $300. Heaven forbid if it goes up to $1 again. Well, then I'm laughing. I'm not lying. I'm tempted. Don't take any financial advice from me. I'm no financial expert, but I am tempted to, like, maybe crack out, you know, scrinch and save a little bit, scrape together $300 and buy like 10,000 shares. I am totally tempted. So because yeah, why not, man? For you've invested $5. If it goes belly up tomorrow, which it probably will, you're out $5. Who cares? But yeah, I'm tempted, dude. I'm really tempted. Because why not? Nerd Polemist writes, maybe Chris Pine accepts an initial payment that is slightly lower than originally promised, but gets paid more money on the back end should Star Trek IV make more money than anticipated. Thoughts? The problem with that, and of course what Nerd is talking about, is the fact that Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth, at least for now, have walked away from Star Trek IV because of salary dispute. Many people, like Nerd Polemist here, completely understandably are saying, well, why not pay him less and then offer him a percentage of the movie profits? Here's the problem. The whole reason Star Trek and Paramount want to give Chris Pine a little bit lower of a salary is because they're trying to keep their budget in order, because the Star Trek movies do not make a ton of money. You know, Star Trek doesn't make a ton of money, so they need to lower their budget a bit to make sure they're being financially responsible, so they don't lose money. So if you're Chris Pine, why would you take a lower salary in exchange for a percentage of the profits when Paramount's just been telling you we're not making hardly any profits? So why would Chris Pine accept it? That's the catch here, right? Why on earth would Chris Pine accept that type of a deal when Paramount's just been telling him that the movie's actually not going to make much profit? So any points on the back end isn't going to really add up to much. So that's why Chris and the other Chris are holding on. No, we want our salary to be this and for it to be guaranteed. So Paramount can say, we'll give you 50% of the profits. Obviously, not that much, but I'm just for hyperbole's sake. We'll give you 50% of the profits, but if the movie's not even going to break even, 50% of the profits equals 0. Right? So, yeah, Paramount could offer him that, but the question that becomes, why would Chris Pine accept that? That's the bigger thing. Leo Milmet writes, Black Klansman is great. Saw it twice. You'll love it, John. Ann and I cannot wait to see it. It's one of those films that Ann and I just agreed we need to go see together. And it has been next to impossible for us to find an evening where both of us are free, where the two of us don't already have plans. You know, it's been nuts. And now we're off going up to Northern California for a wedding. The earliest we're going to be able to see it is like Tuesday. So I still have not seen this movie, and it's driving me crazy because everybody, like you, Leo, are telling me just how good it is, and I cannot wait to see this thing. All right, Conduit writes, Arrow had gone from my favorite show to my guilty half-pleasure. What do you think they could do to bring the show back to its Season 2 glory days? Anything is on the table, even killing. Honestly, couple things. I don't mind having side characters, obviously. Pare down the size of the group. Like this Mad Dog character, Mr. Terrific, just the new Black Canary. None of these characters are working for me. The key, though, is in Season 2, they really, and I've said this a few times, they made Arrow the Batman of this universe. And last season, during the Crisis on Earth X crossover, which was great, by the way. That Crisis on Earth X crossover was great. Tons of fun. But one of the main reasons I liked it so much is because, again, they truly made Oliver the Batman of that world. And I think it works. And I love how on Earth X, it showed that a bad Oliver, even though you have a world with the Flash and Supergirl and all these superpowered beings, that the person who takes over the world is Oliver. And he's known as the biggest badass, even though he has no superpowers. I love it when they approach it from that angle. I think they need to embrace that, get back to that. The show's far more compelling when they do it that way. So that's what I'm really hoping to see going into next season. All right. Jeffrey5164 writes, Rocket meeting a raccoon on Earth will be funny? I think so. I think so. Now, to be honest with you, I don't even know if we're going to get Rocket on Earth. Like, when Nebula flies Tony on the Milano back to Earth, who's to say Rocket and her don't just take off? I mean, so I'm not even sure. I mean, I'm guessing Rocket's going to be on Earth. But he may be long gone by the time Avengers 4 starts, right? But if they do, it might be a little too on the nose, but I got to feel like it would be a little bit of a missed opportunity to not at least have a little quick half second of a gag of Rocket seeing another raccoon. That could be funny, if it's done right. 23 Mark B writes, Toby Kebbell is a good, decent actor. He very much is. And he's a great motion capture. Probably the second best motion capture actor next to Andy Serkis. Does being in a string of bad movies hurt his career, even though his performances are good? They shouldn't, but yeah. When you're in a string of bad movies, that kind of, it's unfair. It's totally unfair, but that kind of gets attached to your name a little bit. And your name becomes associated with bad movie after bad movie after bad movie. And that's unfortunate. The same thing happened with Taylor Kitsch. I think Taylor Kitsch is a great actor, but he was in bad movie after bad movie after bad movie, and suddenly that stigma starts to get attached to you. It is totally unfair, but I do think it has affected Toby Kebbell's career, but I don't think it has sunk his career. And I totally believe he can recover from it, and he is a good actor, and I hope to see him in some better stuff moving forward. I hope he gets luckier. Mark B23 follows up with, how did Ben Affleck buy the rights to the McDonald's Monopoly heist movie? It's true events. Shouldn't anyone be able to make that movie? It's true events, but, and first of all, number one, Ben Affleck didn't buy them, Fox did. And Fox has attached Ben Affleck and Matt Damon to direct and star in it. So just to clear that up. But the movie is based on a series of articles and research done. I can't remember which magazine it was. Let's just call it Magazine X for now, okay? I can't remember what it was. But the movie is going to be based on the expose and articles and research done by Magazine X. Therefore, if you're going to use all that to make your movie, you got to buy the rights to it from the people who did all the research, dug all that stuff up, and wrote those stories that you're basing your movie on. That you got to pay for the rights for, because if you don't, you're going to get the pantsuit off you. So that's how Fox, not Ben Affleck, ended up buying the rights to it, because you're buying the series of articles, research, and information uncovered by that magazine or newspaper, whichever it was. That's what they're doing, and that's why you got to pay for those rights. Because it's not just based on the events. It's based on all and everything. It's based on the work and research and writing of that magazine uncovering all that stuff and doing the expose and putting all those pieces together. That's what you're basing your movie on, so you got to pay them. You got to pay them for it. Let's see. Final question of this installment of the companion videos comes to us from NPE, who writes, Bob Iger foresaw the importance of IP before any other studio chief. Disney arguably as revolutionary as Netflix and Amazon. Thoughts? Well, first of all, Disney is far more revolutionary than Netflix and Amazon. Far more. Second, Iger was not the first studio executive to recognize the importance of IP. Not in the least. That the understanding the importance of IP has been around for a long time. Franchising the IP has been tricky, and they were one of the first guys to figure out how to really do it, especially with their MCU. But I certainly wouldn't say, as great as Bob Iger is, that he's the first media executive to understand the importance of IP. No, no, no. That's been around long before him. Long before him. But they are one of the first guys to put the pieces of the puzzle together to actually franchise stuff and get that rolling, which they've done very, very well. But yeah, man, I wouldn't say they're as revolutionary as Netflix and Amazon. I'd say Netflix and Amazon strive to be as revolutionary as Disney. Disney's been around long before Netflix or Amazon, doing revolutionary, changing the game, all that kind of stuff. There's a reason they've been around for almost 100 years, right? Is because they are Disney. Netflix and Amazon are just kind of new to the game, riding on the coattails of things that have come before them. So I would say Disney's far more revolutionary than they are. But that's just my point of view. All right, guys. That will do it for this installment of the companion video. Thanks so much for being here, guys. And don't forget, guys, if you've got some outstanding questions still waiting to get answered, I still got a whole bunch more. Just because you didn't see it answered in today's companion video, don't worry about it. We've got a couple more coming over the weekend. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.